Hello and welcome. I'm your host, author Ryan M. Oliver, and this is the Mighty Books Podcast. This episode's featured author is Judy Granlee Gates. A fourth-generation small business owner and multi-vocational woman, Judy Granlee Gates has worked in residential construction for 35 years and strives for continual improvement in her processes. She is a driven problem solver and uses her organizational skills to benefit her customers' experience. An award-winning custom home builder and remodeler, dozens of her projects have been recognized on local, state, and national levels, and her company received a Pacesetter Award for Custom Home Magazine for outstanding customer experience. Judy utilizes her degree in education, training, and development to take her customers through the home building and remodeling process with confidence, fun, and outstanding results. Her first job was organizing the supply of her mom's busy hair salon at the age of 7, and she is decluttering and organizing for herself and others to this day. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Mighty Books Podcast. Today with me, I have Judy Granlee Gates. Judy, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you today, Ryan?
I'm fabulous. Thank you for asking.
Yeah.
So today we're here to talk about your book. What's the title of your book?
It's called Bigger Living, Smaller Space, Resizing for a Clean and Cozy Home.
And what is it about? I mean, it kind of already gives it in the title, but can you go into it a little bit for us?
It kind of does, but it's really kind of a multifaceted book, depending on the reader. And I also have a lot of different directions in the book. So a lot of it is about general clutter in people's homes and how clutter impacts people in their lives, both mental and physical clutter, and how it can cause weight gain, stress, depression, all these things. It's also about people who are looking to maybe move from a larger home to a smaller home, or are older in life and they're downsizing or going to a retirement apartment or possibly assisted living, which is a super daunting task to go through your entire house and part with maybe 50 years of your belongings, right? Especially the sentimental things. So that's a big chunk of it. But there's also a component to it of living smaller. So I personally live in an 1,131 square foot house. I am not a minimalist. I am exactly the opposite. But smaller living is really a big trend right now because of expensive of housing, costs of rent, inflation in general, property taxes, upkeep, all those things. So there's a little something for everyone in there.
Now, what was your inspiration behind deciding that you wanted to actually write a book for people to utilize?
I've wanted to write a book for a long, long time, like 40 years.
Oh, wow.
And I like to write. I've always enjoyed writing. I took all the writing classes in school and college. And I didn't ever necessarily know what I wanted to write about, but I knew I would never be like a fiction writer. I don't write stories. And I have a background in education, training, and development. So my entire adult life has been involved in doing things that educate people through processes, right? I'm a home builder by trade. I educate clients through the process.
Nice.
And I've done this decluttering process, whole house, many, many times for move outs. It started with relatives in my own family. It started with my beloved Grandma Fran. And then I kind of became like the go-to person. And I thought, there's a book here. And so that's how the books kind of came to be, because I sort of was becoming that person that people were always asking, how do you do this? What do I do next? What's this process? I don't know what to do. I'm so overwhelmed. How do I get rid of this? So the book was born.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that sounds like it just kind of was born by necessity.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I found a lot of authors are like that. Like, I know
Yeah.
stuff. They need to know that. And I wonder if I could just give them this cool little compact device here that they could, or tool they can use to better themselves.
Sure.
How long has the book been out for?
Oh gosh, it came out January 30th, and like right around January 30th. So about 5 months.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So
it's been a lot of fun. Yeah.
That's great. What's your feedback so far?
I have like over 87 5-star reviews, which is fantastic, because my publisher keeps telling me, well, you're going to get a 1-star review and you need to just own it, because there's going to be people who don't like you and who don't think you said it. And they aren't all just my friends either, Ryan. I actually have read the reviews and they're like, I don't know this person.
Mm-hmm.
So some real people wrote them. That's been a huge shock to me that I have that many 5-star reviews, which is great fun.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
awesome. I love good feedback. I love feedback, but I love good
Good
feedback.
feedback.
Good
Yeah.
feedback's really nice. Like, I can pat myself in the back
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Now, how would one, when they pick the book up, how would they use it to help them, yeah,
Yeah.
declutter their life?
Yeah. Great question. So the book is just less than 10 chapters,
Oh,
but
okay.
every chapter is a specific one. So you could pick the book up and say, I don't have a lot of clutter problems, but I have all these things I inherited from relatives and I don't know what to do with them. The sentimental items, it's the biggest chapter in the book. So you can go straight to that chapter. And for instance, in that chapter, I talk about items by type,
Oh, really?
dishes, artwork. I mean, I literally go through and say grandma's hanky collection. And I talk about all the weird things that you might own and what you could do with them. And even the things I don't mention, I say, here's some ways to figure some things out, right? Bring them into your life and use them with purpose. Don't just put them in the back of a closet.
Right.
But each chapter ends with 3 questions. And it's really designed to help people. And I'm not a therapist or I'm not a mindset specialist, but I believe in mindset. And each chapter ends with 3 questions about the process, your mindset, and how you're going to move forward.
Oh, okay.
And the book is also sort of divided into different things. Some people are moving and they need to declutter their whole house for a move. Some people have one room they just cannot seem to get control over, or one space that is just constant chaos.
Okay.
Some people have a bigger problem. Some people want to downsize and live smaller. So you can really look at each chapter individually,
Mhm.
and they are interconnected, but you can jump around, which I like about a book because I'm not a very attentive reader. I'm a little bit like a squirrel at a rave. And so I like to bounce around
Okay.
and get the information I need. I
Okay.
don't read most books cover to cover.
Okay. So you can actually open the cover and go, I want to know
Yep.
about this particular subject, turn to chapter
Yep.
6 for whatever reason and read that part and go, okay, now I can go about my life, do that. And I'll refer back to it. It's like, it's a
As
reference book
needed.
almost.
It's a
Okay.
reference book. It is a guidebook. I refer to it as a guidebook.
Okay, well, that's a good
Mhm.
way to do it. And a lot of people during that time when they're trying to clean up usually don't have a huge amount of time to just sit down and read one thing. They're
Right.
busy knocking some stuff out. So that's good to know.
Yeah. And nobody wants to sit down and read a 300-page book about, I mean, it's an easy reader. It's not a long book for that reason.
Right. How long is the book? You said it's under 10 chapters, but
It's under 10 chapters, but I think it's only like, I have to look because I don't even know how many pages it is anymore. It's like
oh,
100, not even 100 pages.
oh,
It's,
nice.
yeah, it's under 100 pages of text
That's
for the
perfect.
book. There's all the fluff pages at the front and the back, but the text is under 100 pages and it's not a big book. So it's pretty digestible.
Yeah, no, and it's not intimidating at all either.
No.
It's and which is good. A lot of people are now going towards novellas and smaller
Mhm.
books nowadays because of just time span, attention
Yeah.
span. People get more, they actually gravitating towards those smaller books more so nowadays, which is
Yeah.
which makes sense just with how the mood and everything's going
Yeah. And how
these
people's
days.
attention span and time has changed over the years.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
finding a lot of the younger, even some of the older guys and gals are doing some of that, are reading shorter books,
Yes.
but I'm finding much definitely with the younger generation.
Yeah.
My generation's kind of in the middle, but half will read, and if that of that half, about a quarter of them will still read the big chunky books, where everyone
Hmm.
else kind of wants fast paced, quick, over a weekend kind of a thing.
Oh, a big chunky book makes me sweaty. I just can't even think about reading a big chunky book.
I love myself a big chunky book.
I know my daughter does too.
Yeah, it just depends. I have my moods, but
Mhm.
a big, like one that I can sit down and read over a day or 2 days. Oh, that's great. But
I
one you can
know.
just sit there and just gnaw on for a couple of weeks
Hmm.
is a good. It's a good one also.
Yeah,
So
they both have their benefits.
they really do. It is, like I said, just depends on the mindset of the
Hmm.
reader, I guess, at the time.
Hmm.
But so you talked about sentimental items. What's some of the tips or strategies you have for those? For when you talk to somebody like, hey, you have all this stuff, you need a downsize. How do you take that sentimentality and kind of logic them up to get
Hmm.
rid of it?
The first thing I tell everybody is memories are portable. And that is a huge thing. And people don't often think about this. So my mother-in-law lived in a farmhouse and she'd lived there forever. And when the grandkids started being born, she would measure them all on the wall, right? Well, then she could never leave the farmhouse because the kids had all been measured on the wall. And we had been trying to get them to sell the farmhouse. And so I said to my husband, make your mother one of those damn boards that goes on the wall that's like a giant 6 foot tall measuring stick, right? So we made it. We went up there. We recreated each entry in the right color pen, pencil, whatever, the date, which grandchild it was. And we screwed it to the wall. So when she left, she could take it with her.
Oh, awesome.
And so a lot of people get hung up on the fact that, well, this thing, blah, blah, blah. If I don't have this thing, I can't remember. And that's just not true. And I think once people stop and think about that and they give it a little time, it's a shift for them. And so some of the things that I see really like throwing people off are like personal examples of mine. My grandma had a pair of Ginger sewing shears that I think in the 70s she paid $25 for. And you'd think the woman sold a kidney, the way she protected them and no one could touch them or look at them.
Right.
And so I had them. What the heck am I going to do with a giant pair of silver sewing shears?
Oh, no.
I mean, they looked like from a cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
So I made a shadow box of a bunch of neat things of my grandma. She was a seamstress, very talented, made my wedding gown. And now when I see that, I think of my grandma and happy memories of sewing things with my grandma. Yeah. Not when I open a drawer and go, oh God, there's those damn shears again. What am I going to do with them? And I just keep shoving them to the back of the drawer. So I'm a big fan of incorporating sentimental items into your life. Someone in your family had a saddle. You don't own a horse. Make it into a bar stool. Hang it on a wall. There are, believe it or not, a lot of decorative things you can do with a saddle. Some are even useful. You can have it remade into a lot of other things. So I really look at all those things that people have and what they can do with them. And there are so many tricks I can't tell you. And that's one of my favorite topics.
Yeah.
And it's literally the biggest chapter in the book by far.
That makes a lot of sense. My wife's got a lot of old t-shirts from like high school, college, and other organizations she's been involved with, and dresses from certain things. And she's like, I'm never going to wear these again. They don't fit, or they're just, I don't want them to get dirty. I'm going to make them into a quilt or something. I'm like,
the t-shirt quilt is a favorite. That's like a fan favorite. And then with prom dresses, there's all these, prom dresses, bridesmaids dresses.
Yeah.
There's all these organizations that take donations of these gowns and they give them to kids in school that don't have money to go buy a prom dress. Right. There's so many places like, that you can give things like that to. And then people feel a little better about it. But there are the rare people who are like, I cannot part with this. I just have to keep everything,
Yeah. And that can be very challenging, especially at the end of their life or whatever. And now you've got left with all this stuff.
Yes. So. And at the end, and in the problem I find with people who are older is they're losing control, right? They're going to have to go live somewhere. Their kids talked them into it. They agreed, but they don't really want to. And so they just grab tighter to every piece of Tupperware and to every little thing.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. So how does clutter impact a person's life, negatively or positively?
That was so funny because one of the things I did when I thought this is my topic I'm going to write a book about, I did a little bit of research about clutter and how it impacts people. And I didn't even believe it. I thought it was kind of like, whatever. There are some crazy studies about cluttered homes. So people who live with clutter, they tend to be lethargic. They can be depressed. They tend to gain weight more than the average person. There's so many studies. Anxiety. Your home is supposed to be a place of peace and calming, right? It's supposed to be a refuge. Mm-hmm. And it's where we come from the end of a week, even if we work at home. It's where we recharge and reset with our family, with our friends, with people we love. And if your house is chaotic, you don't ever get a break from that. Like you're just constantly pushing things around and moving things and thinking, I didn't do that very well. I need to clean this better. I need to get organized. What's wrong with me? So then you start to beat yourself up. Yeah. So it really has a lot of negative to it to have clutter around.
Well, that's interesting. I know for me personally, I can't think there's a lot of clutter going on. It's just not.
If my house, now I was raised by a psychopath, so there's the disclaimer. Clutter did not live in our house. It was not allowed in our house. And she was great about it. But I get some clutter and I have to stop, like you said, and just, stop, get it tidied up and then move on because I can't focus.
Yeah. No, I tend to focus on that to get that figured out first, and then we
Mhm.
go from there. I used to be a substitute teacher, and you go through, many
Oh,
different
yeah.
classrooms, right? And so I went to, one classroom that was just immaculate, and it was like, okay, I can think and work in here. And I had been to most classes have been pretty organized. It doesn't have to be spotless or, oh, there's a little mess on the table, whatever. I'm pretty practical. But this one person I had subbed for, they had huge mounds of paper on the ground, just behind the desk, books
Mhm.
everywhere. Things were it looked like a tornado had run through the place.
Yep.
I could not I had to hold on to those sub notes so tight to make sure I do everything properly, because I was going to be so distracted on what was going to come next. And it's amazing at what a serious amount of clutter can do to your thinking in the
Your
day.
concentration, your
Yes.
anxiety levels, all those things.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah. You wouldn't think of something like that would throw you off, but it absolutely does.
Everyone has some clutter. Not everyone's houses. I mean, I know a lot of people whose houses are spotless, but
Right.
God forbid you open a closet door, you're going to get bonked on the head with something that falls out, right? I mean, people have that. They think, well, no one can see it. It's fine. Or they have a room that's whatever. So we all have clutter. Some of us just have more clutter or we have a problem managing that clutter. So there's every
Mm-hmm.
level.
Right. Now, you worked in construction for a while. You were teaching people how
I've
to
worked in
be.
construction for 35 years. My husband and I are custom builders, and
Nice.
I have a background in education, training, and development. And so early on in our careers, I decided that the best way to bring people through a building project is to teach them and guide them through it, right? If
Heck
they
yeah.
know what's coming, most people have never built a home.
Mm.
It's rare that you're building for someone who's built or remodeled before,
Right.
and they don't know what to expect. And let me tell you, it's a runaway train some days. And so if you can prep people for what's coming and they understand the process, then it's a fun process. It's not like we're getting a divorce, we can't stand each other, and we don't want to live in the house, which does
Right.
happen.
Oh yeah.
But that's what I've done for 35 years.
Yeah. And that has directly affected you being able to create this book that is useful for people to declutter the house.
So much. I would say, no exaggeration, I probably met 10,000 people in the 35 years I've been building
I
and
can believe it.
remodeling. Yeah. Now, 1%, if that, might build a house that I
Mhm.
talk to. It's not a big number. So I talk to a lot of people. I go to a lot of people's homes. People want it, like, you want to remodel your kitchen. You
Yeah.
invite me over. I come look at your kitchen. Wow, I have seen some houses. And the common thing that I see all the time, especially with people who want to remodel, building too sometimes, they just need a couple hundred more square feet and their clutter problem would be contained. And I have walked into some houses where my hair has just stood on end. And I'm like, no amount of space is going to fix this problem. And they think their problem is lack of space. It's not, it has nothing to do with space. But I've heard that for 35 years.
That's
And
funny.
so many people who want to live in a home they can't afford to build. So this is the other commonality I see. People come in and they want to build a home that's maybe $100,000 more money than they have. And they always have some special caveat. Well, we need a second kitchen and living room in the basement because we're really big football people and we like to have like 20 people over to watch football. Oh, okay. Can we not do that upstairs in the living room with the kitchen? No, we need a special room. Oh, okay. Okay. That special room is going to add about $100,000 and you have not that much. Well,
Right.
then, and they say things like, well, if we can't have that, we're not going to build. Oh, okay. And that always shocks me. If you can't have every single thing you want, you're not going to build a house. I'm not that kind of person. But I see it over and over and over again. And people want a room for everything.
Yeah.
They don't think about combined spaces. They don't think about multi-use. I mean, I have a gym in my house and I live
Mhm.
in an 1,131 square foot house and I have a gym.
Yeah.
It's part of my guest room. And you wouldn't walk in and go, there's a gym in here, but there is.
Right.
So it's kind of about being creative and all of that. But Americans are taught that bigger is better, right?
Yeah. And I'm finding a lot of folks that I talk to nowadays, at least who are trying to buy homes. So, I mean, in their 20s and early 30s, I'm going to say, because right now it's just the cost of
Yeah.
a home is absurd right now in Washington.
Absurd.
It's nuts. Just in the 5 years,
Yeah.
6 years, 6 years of us having our home, basically it's increased about the same amount of money that we bought it for originally.
Yeah.
It's insane.
We bought a
So
house 3 years ago and it's more than double.
yeah,
It's worth more. I could sell it tomorrow for probably 2.5 times what I paid for it,
yeah, it's
which is
absolutely nuts.
insane.
It is
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah.
I can't believe it. I can't believe it. But and people they're building homes everywhere and
Mhm.
they're just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But the family sizes are not getting bigger and bigger. They're staying the same size, yet they fill those homes and they feel
Yeah.
obligated to fill those homes.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
the
We can't
thing.
have empty spaces.
Yeah, and I don't understand why. It's like, why do
Mm.
you need? And my thought nowadays is, with more space, you have to now maintain that space.
Yeah. And you have to pay property taxes. You have to pay maintenance.
Yes.
You've got insurance. You
Yeah.
have, maybe if you're lucky, you have a yard guy and a housekeeper.
Right.
I mean, you and I live in the same county. So you've seen what's going on in our very regional area of
Right.
apartment buildings.
Yeah. Oh man,
$2,000 a month, one bedroom apartments,
that's
one and two
insane.
bedroom. Who can
Well,
afford that?
are they luxury with quotes?
Yeah.
Is that the
Luxury,
problem?
air quotes. Yeah.
So you'll love this. So my wife and I we moved out of our place in mid 2017, and we had a pretty nice apartment. It was a
Mhm.
3 bedroom, 2 bath, so just about under 1,200 square foot. We had 2 kids in there. You
Yeah.
know, they're gosh, what were they, 1 and 3? So they were not,
Okay.
they're
Yeah.
very busy. We had quite a bit of stuff, but we maintained it. Try
Mhm.
to our best. And we noticed someone coming by one day. We were outside playing in the yard out there. They had a common
Play
area.
area or something. Yeah.
Yeah, a common, just a field, really no playground.
Mhm.
But it was nice enough apartments. We were paying at the time, it's 2017. We were paying $1,100.
Oh, you would never be able to find that. That would be three
No,
thousand dollars now.
yes, it had vaulted ceilings. It was a third floor.
Oh,
They had
nice.
oh yeah, it was great. They had they
Yeah.
had amenities off out of the building as well, and it was actually
Mhm.
a really great spot. A little tight in the parking area, but whatever. It was in Silverdale.
Yeah.
And we saw someone coming by taking pictures. We're like, what's going on? Oh, they're selling the place. The owners are
Oh
selling. We're like,
gosh.
okay, well, my wife's like, I really have a bad feeling about this. Our rent's about to go up. So
Double.
yeah, and so what happened was, like, okay, well, we're looking for a home anyway. So we ended up finding a home, moved out, and about a year after we moved out, I ran into the manager's daughter who helped
Mhm.
run the property. And I said, hey, just curious, how much is our unit being sold for now or rented out to?
Yeah.
$2,000.
Yeah.
They did nothing
Almost
except change
double.
the carpet. That was it. Yeah.
Hmm.
I was blown away by it. And it's nothing changed. You don't get anything extra.
Yeah.
And it's insane. So I don't understand it myself. But anyway.
Yeah. Oh, no, I have a 25-year-old daughter and she can't afford to, and she has a good job and she can't afford to live in Kitsap County. It's as expensive as Seattle right now.
Yeah. Yeah, and then like we
Yeah.
said, and once you buy something bigger, you want to add more things to it, and then that just costs more money, and now you got this downhill slide. And then if you have the clutter, oh gosh, financial
Yeah.
problems, just
Oh, yeah.
there's so much.
We had a
It
4,000
snowballs.
square foot house that we downsized to a 3,400 square foot house. And then our daughter went to college and we were like, we had inherited all these family things,
Right.
saddles, sewing scissors, you name it. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is not going to happen. We are not keeping all this stuff. We're not doing this to our daughter. We literally gave away, donated, sold everything we owned when we built
Wow.
this house. We bought all new furniture because the scale was different. And we said, we're not taking all this stuff with us because we'd moved all of our family and parents out of all of this and we'd seen all the stuff and we tried not to bring a lot of it home, but we were
Yeah.
like ruthless. We were like, is this really something we want to hang on to? And it's amazing. When we did that, I thought, okay, we're paying like $10,000 a year in property taxes.
Holy
Now,
cow.
granted, we're paying five now,
Mhm.
but still, when you look at what we were paying in insurance, we had a yard person, we had a housekeeper,
Wow.
we had property taxes, we had all kind. You got to clean the windows every now and then. You got to paint the house every now and then. It's a lot cheaper in a smaller house.
It is. Well, and I've seen all these. I wonder if have you done anything with tiny homes? I've heard a bunch of tiny home
Yeah,
things or with people interested in that. And I'm
yeah.
like, I don't I don't know.
Not a
Have you heard
tiny
anything
home
about it?
person
Yeah.
because I think a real tiny person's home is what I'm living in.
Yeah.
I mean, I have 2 bedrooms and an office, but people walk in my house and say, my house is a little ridiculous. I'll admit it. I'm a custom builder. It's going to be kind of over the top. And people walk in and go, there's no way this house is 1,100 square feet. But I have a 5 foot by 5 foot primary closet and I share it with my husband.
There
And
you
I
go.
used to have a 10 by 12 foot and I filled it.
There you go.
But now I rotate my clothes. Half of them are on a rack in the garage and I switch them out twice a year.
Yeah.
But yeah, tiny homes, I love the concept, but I think
Yeah.
for most people, they're great for single people. They're
Yes.
great for young people, and they're great for very young families with small children. After that, I don't think they're very reasonable. But more power to you if you can do it.
Yeah. I've heard of a couple of families doing it, not necessarily
Mhm.
here, but I mean,
Yeah.
you look at online or something and they will.
Yeah.
But something else I thought of that decluttering can help with, like I said, financially, it's a thing,
Mhm.
but storage units.
Oh, don't even start me on that. I have a whole chapter on storage
Do
units.
you really? Okay.
I
What?
really do.
So I will start you on storage units because you have a whole bunch to talk about. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on storage units.
When we first got married, we moved to Kitsap County from Clallam County, and we had to get a little storage unit. And it was like, I don't know, it was cheap back then. It was like
Yeah.
35 years ago. So maybe it was $50 a month or something. Now it's probably $250 a month. And we had that for about 2 years because we were renting. And when we finally bought someplace, I did the math and I was like, wow, we spent a couple $100 over 2 years on storage.
Right.
But we haven't had that after. Storage units, I did some research on how big the industry is and what the average American spends on storage in a year. It's mind blowing. It is a multi-billion dollar a year industry. And if you drive around, it's kind of funny because in my book writing, I had some beta readers, and one of my beta readers had never lived anywhere but Washington State. And she said, I had no idea that storage units were so popular all around the country. And I said, she goes, I just thought it was here because we have so much military. And I said, no, sweetie, storage units are, like I got an uncle who's living like a king off storage units that he
Yeah.
owns. And it is amazing what the average family that has a storage unit is spending something like $5,000 a year.
It's
And
insane.
then and the numbers have gone up drastically, even in the years since I did my research, because we're in such a cost escalation model right now, I would
Right.
say, with inflation. But it's bonkers. And usually what I tell people is a perfect example. My father-in-law passed away. My mother-in-law was devastated. She couldn't deal with some of his things. We put them in storage. She had the money to pay for storage. Years and years later, she finally was ready to go through all that, and a family member helped her. But she spent $200 a month on storage for 7 years,
Oh my gosh.
right? And that's anyone's prerogative. I'm not saying don't do it, but that's a lot of money. That's a European vacation. A
Yeah.
little on the low side, but that is maybe some college tuition. That could be a car for a teenager or a commuter car.
Hmm.
It's a lot of money. And so I always encourage people, and I have no problem spending my money. I promise. My husband would like me to stop, but I don't like to spend money on things that don't get me something, right?
Yes. Oh,
And
I agree.
and the other thing that makes me crazy are the backyard sheds. So most people, when they put stuff in storage or in the backyard shed, so you're paying for the shed or you're paying for the storage. So you're buying tubs or bins or nice boxes, hopefully, to store your things in so they stay nice. If not, you're putting them in cardboard, and the rodents who do live in storage units, trust me,
Hmm.
are getting into your belongings. So sometimes if your storage has been there for 5, 6, 7 years, you don't even know what you have.
No.
After I wrote the book, I sent it to a friend who I'd worked with for years, and she said to me, Jude, you're not going to believe this. She said, I just threw 42 boxes in a dumpster. And I said, what? Empty? She goes, nope, didn't even open them. She goes, I didn't even open them, Jude. I took your advice. And I said, well, wait a minute. That's not exactly my advice. She said, I realized if I had not looked at these for 15 years, I mean, it had been at least 15 years. She said that I didn't need anything in those boxes.
No.
I hadn't wondered where any of it was.
Right.
So she literally threw them all in a dumpster. But a lot of people open that up and the stuff is ruined because it got cold, it got hot, it got wet, it got mouse poop.
Yeah, well, people don't go into the sheds and actually, manage the stuff.
No.
We had a storage unit for a small amount of time between before we got married, and then after we bought our apartment, we still had some stuff going through it, trying to get rid of
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
We were combining lives. Like we didn't live together before we got married, so
Sure.
we just had all this stuff. And my wife is very organizational savvy, and I hate clutter. So together we get a lot of stuff done pretty
Yeah.
quickly. So we wanted to use the space. It was an additional portion of our home essentially. And we would store holiday stuff and
Yeah.
bigger items that we couldn't do yet until we got a home, whatever. People don't like to use it because you have to crawl in and find things and move it. We made it like you could walk in and actually grab the items you needed,
Yes.
and then we knew exactly where to put them back.
Yeah.
So if they do use storage units or sheds, they have to make them an actual like usable space.
It has to be like a warehouse room,
It does.
and it can't just pile it all in on top of each other. And so then you can't even find what you want. And so in all of our homes, we always tell people we encourage heated storage in the
Yes.
house. Now, in this house, I don't have it, but I do have storage in a
Mm,
shop building that we have.
right.
And I tell people, let's build you a 10 by 12 room in the basement or somewhere near an attic or somewhere in space we don't really need that maybe doesn't have code ceiling height. And let's just make that heated storage. We'll drywall it. It'll have heat. It'll have a light. And you can store things on rolling shelves and you can find them. And it's awesome.
Yeah.
And people love that. And yes, that costs a little money, but it's not like renting a storage space and it's in your house.
Yeah.
And when it gets full, you go, time to purge. I better do
Yes.
something about this.
Yes. I actually love getting rid of stuff. It is weird. I get very excited when I get rid of things. I don't know what it is. Just cleans out the area. It's a strange thing. Some people cannot stand doing that, and other people like myself, I love it. Get rid of all the stuff.
I do
I don't
too.
need. Yeah. It's like if I realize I don't need it, it's like, what is it doing here? Wasting my space.
Oh
I'm not.
yeah, I'm that person that if a friend's cleaning their closets out, I'll go over and help them. I'm that
Yeah.
weirdo. I'm that weirdo. Yeah, I love it.
And it's good. Do you recommend any length of time between purges?
No, what I do recommend is don't get overzealous. I always
Okay.
tell people, don't think you're going to do all this. Like if you have a project, it'd be nice if you got that room cleaned out in a weekend, but don't kill
Right.
yourself and beat yourself up if you don't.
No.
You really need to, I always tell people, get a task timer, or you can use your cell phone timer. Pick a space. Let's just say you have a guest room that's a disaster. Don't just start in one place and work all over the room. Start in the closet and
Yeah.
finish that. Then move to the dresser and finish that.
Hmm.
Then look under the bed and finish that. Because if you don't, you just feel like you aren't completing anything. And for most people, that ends in disappointment.
That makes sense.
Task timers are fantastic because you just turn them to 15 minutes and then the timer goes off. You can do anything for 5 to 10 to 15 minutes. And
Yeah.
then if it's so torturous you can't do it, then go do something else. Most people will say, okay, that wasn't that bad. I can do 15 minutes more. And that's how you slowly convince yourself that you can get it done.
There you go.
The other thing I tell people is get that stuff out of the house. So let's say
Mhm.
you are decluttering a closet, right? Do not just set those bags in the hall and, Marge is coming to get them. Take them to Marge,
Yeah.
right? Take them to the fish line thrift store.
Yes.
I love taking things there. Take them to the Goodwill, the St. Vincent, the whatever, the whoever, the Boy Scouts. Get it out of your house. Go
Yeah.
drop it off.
That makes it feel a lot better too. And
Yeah,
it just you're being an active contributor to cleaning your house versus having
totally.
someone else come and pick it up for you.
Yes. And then the
That's really
cycle's
good.
complete. You've done it. You've decluttered and you've gotten the things out of the house.
Yeah. And I like the idea of kind of micro goals.
Mm-hmm.
That makes a lot more sense to me. I
Yeah.
mean, that's kind of how we wrote, a lot of authors write books is, okay, you got a huge project. We're going to take one chapter of one chapter. We're going to take one scene and focus on that scene.
Yeah.
And then over time you do that, 15 minutes, an hour, whatever, and you have a whole project completed. Very similar to cleaning your
Yeah.
house.
Yeah.
Take
No,
one.
and in a whole house, when you're trying to do a whole house because you're moving or you just want more, you don't have too much stuff, you just want more space.
Yeah.
You can make more space in your existing house simply by decluttering.
Mhm.
And I tell people you have to go room by room and you have to do, otherwise you'll feel like you're not making any progress and you'll give up.
Yeah, you will.
Yeah.
That's 100%. It's definitely a good thing just for couples or just people to go through their stuff every once in a while and
Mhm.
just, hey, it's purge time. I
Yeah.
think ours is about every 2 years. We tend to do that. So that's
I'm a
a
little more than that, but my
yeah.
husband doesn't like to purge as much as I do. But
Oh,
I
okay.
have a thing for all of his stained t-shirts. I am always trying to dig out all his stained t-shirts and throw them away. And he says, but I could wear that when I'm painting. But I say, but honey, you won't. You're going to wear a brand new shirt and ruin it.
Yep. There you go. Just get rid of it. It's totally okay.
Yeah, it's a rag.
My kids have a weird thing with socks. They'll just keep all the holy socks, and I'm like, no, get rid of those things. What are
Yeah.
you doing? It's got a hole in it. Throw it away.
Or
Oh,
the one sock you can't find the mate to.
yeah.
Everyone keeps those because they think they're going to find the mate. No, they're
Nope.
not.
Get rid
They're
of
in
it.
that black hole with Tupperware lids.
Yeah, I would rather get rid of that and what else? What else? So you lose in the spare change and other stuff you lose in the dryer or whatever.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
all
I
ends
would
up in
just
that black hole somewhere.
yeah, I would rather it sounds a little wasteful, but I'd rather get rid of the, umpteen hundred half socks that you have and
Hmm.
just go buy yourself a
I
new
would
bag
too.
of whatever. Just anyway,
Yeah,
that's me.
we're aligned.
It's just simpler that way. At least it feels like it's simpler that way.
I don't like looking for things forever and
No,
not being able to find them.
no, yeah.
So if you're digging through a drawer that's half filled with socks you don't have a mate to,
Yeah.
what's the point?
I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know. You can don't you know what? Donate them to a teacher. My wife's a teacher and she actually uses them as a whiteboard erasers.
I was going to say you'd be shocked at the things you can do with old socks.
Yeah, you can do plenty of stuff. Like,
Yeah.
listen, give them to schools. Schools
Yes.
will take
There are
all sorts of stuff.
plenty. Yeah.
So many, actually, and they have alternative schools. I think Renaissance in Bremerton, they have kiddos who are homeless or
Oh yeah.
couch surfing who don't really have a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And if you've got young kids, teenagers, or if you're, I don't know, a smaller human, um,
Yeah.
give your clothes to the or actually bigger human, whatever. Give your clothes to alternative schools too, who are needing,
Yeah.
for have kids and who are homeless or couch surfing or whatever. So it never
It's
hurts.
amazing. They take, toiletries and all kinds of
Oh
things.
yeah,
So there's always a home for this stuff.
there's so many, and there's even a
Mhm.
other place, Abraham's House in Silverdale or
I love
Bremerton.
Abraham's house.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're great. Just drop literally anything off pretty much, and they will
Yeah.
happily take that and rehome that to somebody who needs it. So,
And there's also, I don't know if you're familiar with something called Buy Nothing.
mm,
So there's a project called Buy Nothing. It started on Bainbridge Island years ago. It was so things would not go in the landfill and you could meet your neighbors. It was to build community and keep things out of the dump.
nice.
So let's say you have a half-used bottle, you bought a bottle of ketchup and you didn't like the way it tasted. You squirted one bit of ketchup out. Well, I am not joking. You go on Facebook, you search Buy Nothing in your town. There's 3 Buy Nothings in Paulsbo. And I go into Buy Nothing Central and I say, I bought this jar of pickles. We ate one and we don't really like them. We didn't drink from the jar. Would anyone like this? I'll have 10 people that say, oh my gosh, that's my favorite brand of pickles. You put it out on your porch. They say they'll come by Tuesday in the morning and they pick it up.
No way.
My husband literally gives me weird things and says, put this on Buy Nothing and see if someone takes it. And I said, dude, don't challenge me. And I think I have probably given away 10,000 things on Buy Nothing, especially when we moved.
Yeah.
But if you have, I'm not kidding. People will go to Costco and buy a thing of energy bars. They're like, oh, we tried one. They're not our family's favorite. And someone's like, oh, my kid lives on those. And they just drive, you message each other. You can either meet in public. You can, it's up to you how you get them to the people.
Right.
But it's a great thing because, like open bottles of shampoo, somebody tried one and they were allergic or they didn't like the smell. A lot of the shelters and places won't take it because they're worried about contamination or someone putting
Yeah.
something in it. Nope, not on Buy Nothing. So for people who feel really guilty, because there are a very large subset of people who don't like to throw things away,
Yeah.
Buy Nothing. Those are my 2 words for the day.
I like it. Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good to know. Now, do you kind of do any, coaching or whatever for people?
I am not doing it yet, but I am
Okay.
working on a home program where I'm doing some test ones right now where I
Okay.
go to a house and we look at your problem areas and we create a task list. We create an action plan for you. And for example, I have a friend she's been my best friend since like the 6th grade. Went to her house. She's living in a house where she has 3 bedrooms. And then there was a garage that was converted into like the primary suite,
Okay.
but there's no closet. And she said, Jude, I have clothes in every closet in my house. I said, okay, this has to stop. This split storage is making you crazy. You're walking around in your underwear every morning, aren't you? And she said, yes. And I said, we need to stop that. So I said, we're going to buy these things that work as a closet, open closet for your now bedroom. I said, we're going to take everything out of the closets one at a time. This closet in your office is going to be for off-season clothes. The closet in your bedroom, this guest bedroom, is going to be for things you don't use very often because she didn't have storage, like Christmas decorations or holiday decorations or gift wrapping supplies. And then she had another smaller bedroom that she used as like a craft room. And I said, all your craft things are going to go in here. But she had shoes and clothes and Christmas and crafts in every closet in her house and no clothes in her bedroom. It was ridiculous. So what I did was we took an hour and a half going through, and then I created this action plan for her. We agreed to everything, and then I wrote the steps out for her. And then I gave her a list of items that work for helping to maintain organization and minimize clutter that she can just click on and pick an order. And so that is what I'm working on doing for home visits. So they can still do it themselves, but a lot of people get overwhelmed and they're like, I don't know where to start and I can't sequence this. And so I come in and help them. Hey, look, here's I can see this problem spot. Is this a problem spot for you? Yes. Okay. What if we did this? Oh my gosh, that's genius. Then I would have space there. So that's what I'm working on right now. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay. So that'll be in the future.
Probably in 2024. Yeah.
Okay. That's only half a year away. So
I know it is.
We're moving fast. So
yes,
that's pretty exciting. Now, will they be able, I'm sure you'll put it out there where they can contact you. But for at least now, where can people get copies of your book?
My book is available on Amazon and barnesandnoble.com. There were some copies at the Book It Nook in Paulsbo, and there are currently a few signed copies at the Barnes and Noble in Silverdale. I don't know how long they'll be there. You can get signed you can get signed copies from my website, judygranleegates.com. You can order directly from Amazon. You can order, I think, from Barnes and Noble there, and you can also order a signed copy from me. And anything that I'm doing, I do a monthly newsletter. Those are all archived under the blog section. I have several sheets that I'm adding to as I go that are like by room, kitchen. These are all the gizmos and gadgets and cool things I recommend that are helpful. And then any new services or things or events that I'm doing, all my podcast appearances are all on the website.
Awesome. Okay. Well, that's great. So yeah, guys, you heard that. If you need help with any kind of downsizing, decluttering, making your life just a little simpler and maybe less stressful, check out her book and then look out for her coaching sometime next year, maybe earlier. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
So that'd be exciting. That'd be really exciting. Judy, this has been awesome. I really appreciate you coming on and chatting with me. It's a lot of cool stuff to talk about, even though it's, nothing we wouldn't think it would be.
I know it sounds like a boring topic, but people actually read the book and then go, that book was really good, which I always love to hear. Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's always good. So so thank you very much for taking time and chat with me today.
Really fun to be here. Thanks for having me.
No problem. All right, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this. And if you are interested, go online and check out her book. Even if you're not interested, go online. It might make a great gift for somebody who's got a messy home and they could use a little help. So, all right, guys, I hope you have a great rest of your day. And as always, stay mighty and keep reading. Are you an author? Do you know someone who is? If so, then message me, Ryan Oliver, at ryanmoliver.com to set up a free appointment to discuss being showcased on the Mighty Books podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe to the Mighty Books YouTube channel and share the link to this and more episodes with your friends and family. Thanks for listening. So long for now. Stay mighty and keep reading.